Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today, our topic is not only current, very, very hot, very burning topic. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today, the world is observing World Mental Health Day. 10th October is an international day for global mental health education, awareness, and advocacy against social stigma. It was first celebrated in 1992 at the initiative of the World Federation for Mental Health, a global mental health organization with members and contacts in more than 150 countries. World Mental Health Day is supported by WHO through raising awareness on mental health issues using its strong relationships with the ministries of health and civil society organizations across the globe. Media conference with Lal Goel hopes that by observing this day, more and more mental health awareness will be created so that no social stigma will be there. Now coming to the main topic, and the topic is Lakhimpur Kheri, blot on humanity. Lakhimpur Kheri massacre was a vehicle ramming attack where 8 people were killed during farmers' protest in Lakhimpur Kheri district. Ashish Mishra, the son of Union Minister of State Ajay Mishra, was allegedly driving the car involved in the incident. Mishra has denied the charge and has evaded police questioning. 8 people lost their lives in the incident during the farmers' protest in Lakhimpur Kheri district of Uttar Pradesh on last Sunday. The farmers had assembled to protest Uttar Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister Keshav Prasad Maurya's visit to Banbirpur. Banbirpur is the native village of Union Minister of State for Home Ajay Mishra Teni, the MP from Lakhimpur Kheri. The incident took place in Tikunia village, which is connected to Banbirpur by road that was occupied by protesting farmers. The Union Minister was to be felicitated at a prize distribution ceremony at a school in Tikunia. The event was to be a high-profile one, and this is why Uttar Pradesh Deputy CM Maurya was the chief guest. He was also slated to inaugurate development projects in Lakhimpur Kheri on Sunday. The protesting farmers were reportedly angry with Union Minister Ajay Mishra Teni over his remarks during his visit to Lakhimpur Kheri on September 25th, incidentally his birthday, when he addressed a farmers' gathering in his Lok Sabha constituencies. The ministers were shown black flags during his visit by a group of farmers, prompting Ajay Mishra Teni to warn them over unruly behavior during protests. Popularly known as Maharaj, Union Minister Ajay Mishra, who had been embroiled in criminal cases in the past, appeared to have emerged as the provocateur of Lakhimpur Kheri violence in Uttar Pradesh. Mishra, who represented Lakhimpur Kheri seat in the Lok Sabha and had been inducted in the Modi government as Minister of State for Home recently, had faced the wrath of the farmers in the district after he had reportedly threatened them with dire consequences if they continued to protest against the farm laws. I quote what he said, अगर मैं अपने पर उतर आया तो इन्हें means farmers, गांव ही नहीं जिला भी छोड़ना पड़ जाएगा. The English translation is, if I decide to show them my true power, they will have to not only leave their village, but also the district. Unquote. Mishra had allegedly said at a public meeting in a district a few days ago. Again, to quote him, if I had alighted from my vehicle, they, means farmers, would not have been able to even flee. People here are familiar with my history, unquote, he had said. Mishra's alleged remarks came after the farmers showed him black flags during his visit last month. Enraged over his alleged remarks, the farmers had declared to hold protests if he visited the district again. According to the sources, Mishra's name had cropped up in a case of murder in 2003. He got a clean chit in the case later. The two-time MP from Lakhimpur Kheri enjoyed the image of a muscle man in the district. The protesting farmers later reportedly held a meeting on September 29th, resolving to step up the campaign and protest the visit of Union Minister and Uttar Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister. On last Sunday, the farmers had reached a college in Tikunia village and gherawed a makeshift helipad. Keshav Prasad Maurya was to reach the venue by helicopter, but he changed the plan after being informed about the farmers' protest. He decided to travel by road. When protesting farmers got the news of Maurya traveling by road, they blocked the Tikunia Banbirpur road. It was at this protest site that the massacre took place that left 8 people dead. The farmers' bodies claimed that 4 farmers identified as Nakshatra Singh, age 55 years, Daljit Singh, age 35 years, Lovepreet Singh, age 20 years, and Guruvendra Singh, age 18 years, died as vehicle moved the protesters down on the Tikunia Banbirpur road. 4 other deaths were reported from Bharatiya Janata Party's BJP camp. They were traveling in a car and were allegedly dragged out of the car and lynched by the protesters. While the local administration, the farmers' body, and the BJP leaders have confirmed 8 deaths in Lakhimpur Kheri village violence, reports have said a journalist identified as Ratan Kashyap died in the incident. Kashyap, working with a TV news channel, was covering the incident of violence. He was reportedly hit by a speeding vehicle. The protesting farmers alleged that Union Minister Ajay Mishra, Teni's son Ashish, was in one of the vehicles that ran over the protesters. On his part, Ajay Mishra Teni denied his son's involvement in the incident. Both Teni and his son said they had the proof of Ashish's innocence. News agencies have quoted Ajay Mishra Teni as saying that some elements among protesters beat 3 workers and a driver to death after the car they were traveling turned turtle owing to stone pelting by the agitators. Earlier on Sunday, PTI had quoted Ajay Mishra Teni as saying that the BJP workers' car was pelted with stones, resulting in it being overturned. 2 persons came under it and died, the union minister was quoted as saying. 4 persons in minister's convoy were killed in violence that followed, Kheri Additional SP Arun Kumar Singh said. 8 people, including 4 farmers, died in violence that broke out in Lakhimpur Kheri district in Uttar Pradesh on October 3rd, 2021, after a protest to block UP Deputy Chief Minister Keshav Prasad Maurya's visit to Banbirpur village. Raman Kashyap, a 28-year-old journalist working with the private TV news channel, was among those killed. An alleged video of the incident shared by BJP MP Mr. Varun Gandhi showed a vehicle ramming unarmed protesters from behind. Ashish Mishra appeared for questioning before a special investigation team 6 days after the incident. Supreme Court criticized Uttar Pradesh government for the delay in arresting the accused and expressed dissatisfaction over the investigation. A vehicle ramming attack is an assault in which a perpetrator deliberately rams a vehicle into a building, crowd of people, or another vehicle. According to Star 4 Global Intelligence Analysis, This attack represents a relatively new militant tactic which could prove more difficult to prevent than suicide bombing. Deliberate vehicle ramming into a crowd of people is a tactic used by terrorists, becoming a major terrorist tactic in the 2010s because it requires little skills to prepare. Cars and trucks are widely available and it has the potential to cause significant casualties. Deliberate vehicle ramming has also been carried out in the course of other types of crimes, including road rage incidents. Deliberate vehicle ramming incidents have also sometimes been ascribed to the driver's psychiatric disorder. In 2021, in London, a 20-year-old man rammed with his truck against random Muslim pediatrician, killing a family of 4 and wounding a boy. Attacker arrested for murder and charged with hate crime, but investigated also for terrorism. Now, 2021 Lakhimpur Kheri massacre. Now, this is all what I am reading is available on social media, on Google search, and it's already been put in everywhere in the world. So there is a long list of who has rammed the car, who the terrorist, whatnot. In that terrorist attacks list, now this Lakhimpur Kheri massacre has also been included. Very, very unfortunate for the country like India. So it mentioned, I am just quoting what is mentioned in that 2021 Lakhimpur Kheri massacre, 8 killed in farmers' protest in Lakhimpur Kheri district. Ashish Mishra, the son of Union Minister of State Ajay Mishra, was allegedly driving one of 3 cars. Kheri, now this was quoted in the social media in the list of those terrorists who have attacked the innocent pupil. Kheri violence latest update is that Union Minister of State Ajay Mishra's son Ashish Mishra, accused of running over farmers, was arrested on Saturday 9th October after over 12 hours of questioning in Lakhimpur Kheri violence incident. The police said he had been giving evasive answers and not cooperating. According to top sources in the Uttar Pradesh police, the minister's son was not able to explain several points about his whereabouts during the incident last Sunday. Witnesses have said he was missing from the event. He said he was at between 2 and 4. His phone location showed him closer to the crime scene, and the driver of the SUV that rammed the farmers did not appear to match the description made by him. Ashish Mishra was arrested 5 days after he was named in a murder case. The charges against him usually merit an immediate arrest, and questions have been raised whether he was afforded VIP treatment because of his father. He had also escaped summons a day ago. Now, to discuss this very, very important topic, and I would like to put a caveat here, it has nothing to do with any party politics. It is what we are looking is 2 things. One is whether it is a terror attack, which has been reported now in the world press, that it is like a terror attack, or the terrorists used to have this tactics, which we have seen in the last decade or so, that the terrorists are using this type of ramming the vehicle in the crowd and killing few people. Or if not, then definitely it's a blot on humanity, because those farmers who have been killed, the protesters were killed, it is blot, plus those who were occupying the car were lynched, that is also a blot on humanity. Now, to discuss this very, very sensitive, very hot topic, we have very good panelists, I must say, although I have to admit one thing very clearly, that to bring a panelist on this topic is a very, very Herculean task for me, because people are afraid to talk about this incident. Although matter is sub judice, no doubt about it, but we are not going the legalities. We are not bothered who was there or not there. That is a matter of police to investigate, and the courts have to decide. Our topic is very clear whether such type of incidents are desirable in a country like us, which is claimed to be a Vishguru, or it is really a blot on humanity. So to get the panelist, as I told you, very difficult task. And one of my panelists, she has not turned up, shows that she also felt fear to speak about this. No problem. We are speaking and we are telling the truth. We are not adding anything from our side. Whatsoever I have mentioned to you, it's all available on Google search. It has not been made by me at all. But we will see what other panelists have to say. So I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is the former visiting professor, IIM Lucknow and Universities of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the senior director of Don Bosco Group, Bengaluru. He is the director of Aldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminar proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Saran to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, you are observing and you might be reading and you might be watching on the television what is happening in last 1 week. The incident which took place after 1 day of when we were observing our father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who taught us the lesson of non-violence, who was Messiah of non-violence. And what we have seen after 1 day, we have forgotten everything. And on next day, we have seen a massacre, a ramming of a vehicle, which rather it was mentioned in the global list now as a terrorist attack. We can't vouch for it, whether it was a terrorist attack, whether it's a pre-planned, but whatsoever the police sources have mentioned, otherwise they would have not arrested if it was not a pre-planned. And if they would have arrested, if it was a simple accident, they would have released on the bail, which is a legal person can very well say it's a very easy to get a bail after a hit and run accident or something like that. But to discuss this, whether this Lakirpur Kerry incident, a blot on humanity, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel. As always, it is a privilege and honor to be here with you on your media conference today. I am very sober. I am very serious because it is not a distant event for me. I will begin with few facts which connect with my life. And then we'll try to evaluate them impartially and objectively. An event which is connected with humanity and its future has to be given due importance. That's the reason why I am here discussing the topic with you. Let us rewind the clock, my own life clock, and we go to 1972. In order to make my career, in order to make my life, my family decided to apply to Govind Ballabh Pant University of Agriculture and Technology in Pantnagar. I first got admitted in Bachelor of Veterinary Sciences program there. And within a couple of days, I got an admission call from the Agriculture College. Since I had done BSc Honors Geology before already, I had spent 3 years and lost 1 year because in those days, in Bihar, academic session used to be delayed. So the question was, whether it is worth, doing another graduation. And my family believed it is worth it. I was staying in Kanpur with my brother who was teaching at IIT Kanpur. And I came to Kanpur railway station to catch a train for Lucknow. And from Lucknow, the meter gauge train will bring me to Pantnagar. In that train, I very well remember that a station came by the same name, Lakhimpur Kheri, before Pantnagar was there. At tender age of 19, I had an impression of Lakhimpur Kheri as a very serene place. It had an air about itself which calmed me down because, in those days, when you join a professional college, you have to face the demon of ragging. And as my luck will have it, 3 of my seniors in agriculture college were also traveling in the same compartment in which I was traveling. At Lakhimpur Kheri, they relented in questioning me and trying to make me uncomfortable. They went out, bought cups of chai and gave me. That was such a contrast to seniors being seniors. And then suddenly they show an act of humanity. And at Lakhimpur Kheri, they said, now we are no longer seniors and juniors. We are brothers from the same college. And since we are the very first one to rag you even before you reach the campus, we want you to remember that nobody else will rag you henceforth. And one of them told his name and said that if any senior comes, you just tell that person that, excuse me, sir, XYZ sir has asked me to come and meet him. Can I go? This is my first experience of Lakhimpur Kheri chai and the humanity it represented for 3 years. That single incident, Mr. Lal Goel, became a life changer for me. I studied in the middle of the night because my roommates won't let me study in proper time. And I managed to score 5 out of 5, which is all A grade in all the subjects. And I got a scholarship from the university. I owe that to Lakhimpur Kheri. Had that not happened, I would have been like every other classmate of mine who did not have this special experience traveling in that train. Many of us were traveling. It did not happen with any one of them. Now, this reminds me from 72, wind the clock 50 years almost. We are in 2021 and discussing a blood-curdling event. Road accidents happen, they are not rare. All over the world, they happen. But the kind of road event that we are discussing today is something which puts us to think very seriously, you know. And therefore, I am, unlike my other times, at a loss of words. At a loss of words, and many a time I am not able to remain very objective. So at the outset, I'll request the viewers to maintain their discretion. And I want to offer my sincere apologies to anyone who finds that my evaluation is way out than what the normal evaluation will be. But I am a person who earns his living by tending young minds. Parents give their children at the age of 20, 21 in my care. And I shape their mind so that they can face their life. It can as well be that one of those casualties may have a child that age, and it may come to me for me to tend. I don't know. How will I cope with that challenge? Despite the fact that for 35 years I have been teaching. Now, somebody has to understand quite few basics which sustain humanity. A country which has a healthy philosophy, like we used to have in the ancient times in India, even though not perfect, because humans will not be perfect, their philosophy will not be perfect, I admit it. But it will respect principle number one. And that principle is no man under any circumstances will be allowed by society, will be allowed by its institution to initiate violence against another person. Ancient times, this principle was scripted in our conscience. And if I initiate violence, aggression against you, for example, then the rule number two is, in order to preserve your life and property, you are allowed to act in self-defense. I'll make the point very clear. Think of a hypothetical case that a boy is walking on the road and four people push him. He ignores it, then push again. He ignores. The third time they push, he ignores. Fourth time they push him in the drain. His clothes are dirty. He comes out and then they start hitting those people. Both get hurt. They go to the police station. Both lodge their complaint, FIR against the other party. Now the police inquiry will begin. And the first question which a court of law judge will ask is, have you been able to establish who initiated the violence and then who retaliated? In ancient times, this problem was controlled. Mahatma Gandhi was one who won us independence because he knew the might of the British Empire. When the sun did not set, it rose in the empire, it set in the empire. How can a impoverished country, by years of domination by foreign rulers who are not from our country, match it? So this is the first principle. Humanity, Lakhimpur reminds me today that we as business people, we as business teachers, we as business protectors, because all the institutions in the country are meant only for one thing: ensure that nobody's life, nobody's livelihood, nobody's property is subject to violent disenfranchisement. This is the first most important question, according to me, that Lakhimpur Kheri should remind us to understand, analyze, and learn from, because a man can make mistakes, Mr. Lal Goel, but if he does not learn and teach others how not to make that, then our humanity only is not at risk. Our country, our reputation, our everything is at risk. This is one isolated incident, but as we call it, it is a case study. And you said it is already listed in that global
Terrorist.
events
Yes.
and businesses.
It has been listed in global terrorist events.
And you see, people will not let it die off. It is my feeling business schools in India and abroad will find it a very potent case study for teaching people civic sense and business prosperity, civic sense and protection of livelihood and life. This will be there. There are many elements. I'm still taking in the events as they're developing. It is not a cut and dry case, but I'm very happy you took it up because of the reason which I said right at the outset. I am not unattached to Lakhimpur Kheri because of what it did to my life. It may sound very, unimportant, but think like a 19-year-old teenager surrounded by three people who are your seniors, and they were for final year. Later on, I realized one of them was really influential senior. He was president of Agricultural Society of the college. So that all was there. And you see, the power equation was totally away from me. The power equation was with my seniors. And all that struggle I have, because it happens in life. In Lakhimpur Kheri, the whole thing blew up because somebody wants to establish that this will be the power equation between farmers and the elite.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Sudhir Saran, for giving your views on a very, very, I must say, with agony, pain, as well as very firmly. And you have mentioned, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran mentioned very clearly that this case is not to be seen as an isolated case or some case of a hit and run. It has been done deliberately to show the power by the elite to those farmers who are protesting. Now, but again, because I will be coming to you after we will hear of the view of our other panelists, then definitely we will like to have a discussion on this aspect of the humanity. But before that, I would like to invite, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your very, very as articulate as you are always, your views. So now I would like to invite my next panelist, and he is Mr. Rohan Jindal. Mr. Rohan Jindal is the civil service aspirant at Bhiwadi. He is BTech Mechanical Engineering and from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Uttar Pradesh. He is a runner-up of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Parikrama in 2019. Mr. Rohan Jindal, you have heard what Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran has explained. And he even mentioned about that this going to be a case study in the business colleges, not only in India, but abroad. As I mentioned in my report, that already it has been listed as one of the terrorist attacks in different countries all over the world, where by the ramming of the car, people were mowed down. You are a civil service aspirant. You have to know each and everything, because tomorrow it might be that you will be on a chair as a collector or some important post, or even a SP of a district. And at that time, such type of incident takes place. You have to take a decision, and a decision which has to be for the humanity, because I always believe that those who are coming to the civil services, they are the cream of the cream from the country. And they have their one motto to serve the country. They are not there to earn money because they cannot be selected. It's a very, very tough competition, the toughest competition in India, or I may say in the world. So when you are an aspirant, we would like to know your views, frank views about the Lakhimpur Kheri incident, blot on humanity. Mr. Rohan Jindal, please.
Yes, sir. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. Like you mentioned in the beginning, that incidents like these are definitely on the rise. Not just the common people, but the judiciary is not spared from them. Last month, we witnessed the ramming of Dhanbad's district judge was rammed by auto vehicle. The investigation is still in process. I don't know why this process is taking so much time. This it was definitely a murder. District judge on the morning walk rammed by an auto vehicle. The hit and run, definitely a hit and run case. So this will definitely go down in the books, and incidents like these need to be capped, because these are very much on the rise. Last week, the word humanity was put to the test, and unfortunately, a series of events proved it to be almost non-existential. It was showed that not only by brutal killings from the event, but also but also the events that followed, that shamed the word humanity. The gross misconduct of power and fearlessness, and zero regard for a poor man's life, um, and zero regard for poor man's life, followed by farmers taking law in their hands and killing the people of the opposite side. It was a very human. It was a very uh, a very serial incident. Eight people losing their lives. The farmer is the head. A farmer being a head of the family supports his family financially and financially, morally, and everything. If a person is dead, how can a family go against such a powerful guy, son of MP, and the MP himself? Um, there's no financial support, there's no moral support. Moreover, that also, if that wasn't enough, um, uh, we saw a mock of the justice system, so much so that the Supreme Court had to intervene in between, with Supreme Court taking into account why the arrest has not been made yet, and also question why if the case was to be transferred to the CBI, because the policemen which were working on the case were a set of local policemen, and with a person so influential in the home ministry and the same party in the state. I don't think the local police. The point was right. If the how can local policemen be working on the case impartially? Also, also the transfer the case to CBI was refuted by the Attorney General. Now, um, now this highlights the point of how the gap between the privileged and the poor has been increasing in the past, has been increasing, and has not been evaded by the removal of Lal Bati, I say. Next, the media. Next, the humanity almost was shamed by how the media took this. How media took the incident. They tried to cover up for the. They tried to cover up the incident, raising issues on the validity of the video itself, and trying to cover up with the by counterfacts, like the driver could not see because the windshield was cracked. Like if I ram a vehicle, if I so much as touch my vehicle to another vehicle, the whole vehicle squeaks like a rubber duck. How can the driver not know he was driving on four people? So that is a very stupid point the media made last week. Also, shouldn't the media be standing in solace with the family of the deceased rather than blaming the dead instead? That was one incident. That was one of the part that I felt was very inhumane. And lastly, the inappropriate and insensitive political tourism race. All of the political parties start getting into the race, marching to the village in the big caravans, trying to get their photos clicked with the deceased, with the family of the deceased. Now the mourning family has to deal with the emotional pressure and hordes of cameras and studio worth of cameras just to just to satisfy the political images of the of the political parties. Now, in all the overall situation there is that the social intelligence depicted by all of the parties include, be it the accused, the justice system, the political parties, or the ruling party itself. It was not what a civilized human society capable of living in harmony should depict. So,
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rohan Jindal, for giving your views. And what he has made 2 points, very, very important point. I will take the first point which he has made is about the political tourism, the political parties. Mr. Jindal, you have to understand that in India is a democracy. The ruling party of a state, the other parties would like to go whenever there is such type of incident. Even recently, we have seen in the West Bengal violence, how the BJP, the ruling party in the center, but opposition party in the West Bengal, rushed there. Everyone went there. And they wanted to encash. So basically, it is a prerogative, or you can say it is their things which they are doing it, irrespective of party politics. Everywhere it has happened. It has happened when the Congress was in the power. The BJP used to go. You might be remembering the Nirbhaya case. You might be remembering the Lok Ayukt or Lokpal movement. It was always a political game by political parties. But the thing is, how one can massacre the people. It reminds me the Jallianwala Bagh, how the Jallianwala Bagh and Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, if you remember in Jallianwala Bagh, the condition was that that General Dyer at that time, he was asked to leave the place, the India. He was put under suspension for some time till the inquiry, and he has not been reinstated. I read somewhere whether it is correct or not, but here nothing has happened. The minister is still on the seat. Now, I received one message from one of the important person. It's in the form of question, which I am going to ask you, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. The question is by Mr. Dulichand Karel. He is the national president of Bharatiya Swarnkar Sangh. He says, probably it is a connection is with defamation due to black flagging by Sikh community of our respected Prime Minister in America, which ultimately resulted in this fabricated, inhumane crime. That is why the Sikhs targeted. Because as per the report, all the Sikhs have been killed during this massacre. Now, some days, some dramas will be played. Again, the result will be suppression of issue like Sengar and Chinmayanand. Do you agree with this statement, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran? A person who is a national president of Bharatiya Swarnkar Sangh. Swarnkar means the artisan, no.
Jewelers.
Goldsmith.
Goldsmiths.
Goldsmiths Association. He is not a lay person. He is holding a very important post. He is like writing this, that because of the Sikh black flagging in USA against our Honorable Prime Minister, they have wanted to take a revenge, and that's why the revenge was taken. Do you agree with this?
I'll
Professor
I answer my question in 2 parts. First part, we are talking about humanity. We are not talking about specific humans. We are not talking of individuals and what other individuals did and how the chain reaction started. There, Mr. Dulich, or whatever his name is,
Mr.
with due respect,
Mr. Dulichand Karel,
he is absolutely mistaken. And I know that no community has only bad apples. No community has only good apples. So Mr. Dulichand also has to keep in mind that he is not falling victim to the error we called overgeneralization. I very clearly see that he is making it, and that is my evaluation. And I think the statement itself stands there. The second part of me, please allow me, Mr. Goel, to take you to 12th century, when we were coming out of the dark ages and Renaissance was starting, civilization was being rediscovered. If you earned wages which were higher than what you could consume, you will be having savings. Where did you keep your savings? Some of it you'll keep under the pillow, but then the thieves will come and steal it. Most of the savings you left with, goldsmiths. They gave you receipt that this much gold of this quality, value this much, is deposited with me by Mr. Lal Goel and his ancestors. Okay. This receipt in due course of time became negotiable instrument, check. I am very sad. The goldsmith who used to be protector of life and wealth, now Mr. Duli Chand, by a loose statement, is also bringing their reputation down. This is part two. We should be very circumspect when matters of violence are being discussed. Responsible people should and must observe that rule. We remain objective, not fish in the troubled waters.
Okay.
That's my personal.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
He's
you,
not correct.
Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. So you are not agreeing what Mr. Dulichand Karel, but it is, see, we are in a democratic country. Everyone is having their own point of view. He has put his view, and with his permission only, I asked him very categorically, shall I put it in the show? He allowed me. That's why I put it. I'm sure Mr. Dulichand Karel, who is watching our show, who might be watching our show, is now satisfied. And if he is having any other queries, he can put up, I can send to Professor Saran and he can reply that. Thank you very much. Now my question goes to Mr. Rohan Jindal. On Mr. Rohan Jindal, the blame is in this, they are saying that so and so, the minister's son was not in the car. Let's take it. As a lay person, can you agree that a driver will take a decision to masquerade, to ram the car in the crowd without the instructions? Even if let's presume for hypothetically that even if Mr. Mishra was not present in the car, can a driver take a decision without the instruction of his boss? After all, he's not only killing the person, he's damaging the car. His salary is not that high that he will be able to get it repaired. So no driver would like to take, according to me. But what is your views? Do you think that this driver theory, which has been floated in the media, that driver was driving, let's take it like this, the driver was driving, but driver was allowed to kill the persons like this or not? Mr. Rohan.
Definitely not. As you can see in the it was very clear in the video that the driver was not alone. Even if the person driving was a driver, the person was almost full. The car was almost fully packed. The person sitting sitting in the passenger seat or the rear side of the vehicle made no response while the vehicle was ramming. Even if the driver was doing it on his own accord, why were the people not responding to the incident? If you accidentally saw someone driving ramming into someone, you brace for, you're not braced for the impact. You're not very ready. You're sitting very tight to your seat. You basically you either try to stop the person or try to make them brake or stop this incident. No such efforts could be seen making in the video. Plus the driver just plus if the driver made the incident, it would not have been a hit and run case. The passengers on the side of the driver would have made the vehicle stop and apologize, considering that how is the son of a member of parliament, he represents what his father does in the parliament. So I think this responsibility rested with him, and if it had been an accident, it would have been stopped. It would have been stopped by the passenger or the person sitting in the back of the vehicle. So it was very much intentional on part of the driver and the person sitting with them.
So basically, the driver, according to you, cannot take the decision to do it. He has been instructed to do it, and the driver was knowing that because he is having so much backing. After all, Minister of State in Home, Union Ministry is not a small thing. All the entire department, the CBI and everything is under them. So, okay, thank you very much for giving your views. Now my question goes to Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, at least me and you belongs to a older generation, unlike Mr. Rohan Jindal. Yesterday, there was a program. I was a guest speaker in that. The program was called Critical Skills on Digital Age. And my view was in that when I was speaking, I just mentioned that the ethical values were inculcated to us in very beginning by the family, which is, in my opinion, is that today's generation, it is lacking. And that's why it's a matter of discussion. Why not? It should, the moral science should be taught in the graduates and the undergraduates and the postgraduates of the MBA classes, because the ethical values, because somebody says about the EQ, the ethical and emotional quotient is required now apart from IQ. So my point is, do you think the upbringing is the reason to take a decision? We also have felt the humility many times and with angry. We also want to take revenge. Everyone have some time or other become angry, but we never thought in our even in imagination to massacre the people like this. It's a terrorist attack. It is not a small thing. So my question to you is, do you think upbringing of the culprit, whosoever is, we are not naming, is one of the reason, the Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, to become so inhuman?
So this is a very easy question, because social media is helping us reach the answer. You mentioned yesterday, you were talking about the digital skills. Now, you also know that we need one skill which our elders taught us, to evaluate things after critical analysis. Do not accept things on face value. Social media also tells, like Yudhishthir, half-truths, or Yudhishthir Satyas, Ashwathama Hato, and then they blow the conch, Narva Kunjaro goes blurred. So what I want to bring to you is, there is another case, interesting case happening in Mumbai. And that is about a star of Indian cinema and his son, 23-year-old, and into some drug issue. So there is a story which I will like to share with you very quickly about that Chan fellow, who is Chinese and is now making movies in US, and they are very popular and
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan.
Yes, please.
So thank you for helping. In some departments, my general knowledge is very low. I know some things, not all. So Jackie Chan's son got caught with drugs, and massive amount of drugs. And he tried to deny it and clear himself. But the police did its thorough job and established his culpability in the case. And he was put in jail. He was there in six months in jail. And his father said, "Son, you are on your own. I'm not using my connections. I'm not using my influence to reduce your punishment." That one story was there. As a result, his son wrote a letter from the jail to his mother that, "Mom, I realize the kind of mistake I have made, and I understand why father is not willing to help me out. I think I have learned my lesson. I will, request for mercy from the law and enforcement department, but I will never do such a thing ever in my life." That is upbringing part, which you mentioned. Now, change the scene. They say that, the senior police officer concerned in arresting the star's son, we are properly not taking any names here because we are on national television, national viewership. We should maintain protocols. So, the father called the police officer and told him, "Can I speak to my son? He said, yeah, sure, you can. Then the reporting, news Hindi reporting goes that the police officer called the son, and on phone, he could hear, the actor could hear sound of two slaps, strong slaps. So he says, how dare you slap my son when I'm connected? He says, see, sir, if we had slapped him when he was growing up, today you will not be in this position, he will not be in the position. So clearly, you are very right. My view is, it is obviously family which is the unit of humanity, and we elders and siblings and peers have to make sure this violence and non-violence as a ethical principle is taught early and taught very firmly. We should not be allowed to think that we can settle a scores with violence with anyone. No.
Professor Saran, you made 2 points. I, with due apologies,
please, we are discussing.
disagree with you. First point is, although they both are in the WhatsApp university, so we cannot authenticate both the things, whether of Mr. Jackie Chan or whether the recent happening of Bollywood actor. Because first thing, as far as Mr. Jackie Chan, I think the fault lies with Mr. Chan, not with the son. After all, upbringing was done by him. A child who comes on this earth is totally innocent, and that's why we say the child is another reflection of the form of God. And then whatsoever he is learning or she is learning after seeing what is happening in the family. If Mr. Chen was so busy at that time, if he doesn't have time, so why he brought his son on this earth? So fault lies with the senior Chen more than that, number one. Number two, you mentioned about the Bollywood actor. First thing is, no law permits a violence, physical violence with anyone within even the accused. So this theory, this WhatsApp thing or the news is totally false. If it will put on the test, no court will allow, even if he will boost that I have beaten, I have put the slaps. I think you might be knowing that today the laws are very clear. Even a teacher cannot use the physical violence to a student. Yes. If he or she will, they will be put in a very this thing and legally. So but my point is upbringing. Now, upbringing means the upbringing by the family, by the peers, by the society. At that time, because whatsoever the son or the daughter see in the family, they are going to follow. And you rightly said, although it might be not correct, but the message is very clear that if the son was controlled initially, they would have not acted like this. That's why I'm saying at earlier time, we were taught the morality. And yes. I can tell you my own incident. At that time, you know that people used to have the servants in the house who are working there.
Yes.
And I was quite young, not knowing much. I might be fifth or sixth standard in the class. One of my son, and something, I remember something was told not to tell to my elder brother by my father or mother, some gift they have bought for his birthday. And the servant was the boy. He was a young boy. He must be about 2-3 years elder to me. He listened. So he, out of curiosity, he mentioned to my elder brother. And I became so angry because my father told him not to say to everybody in front of me. So I immediately slapped him, the servant. Do you know what happened to my father and mother? They have not food to me on that day. They said, this is your punishment. You have no right to slap, even if he is your servant. You have to understand there's a humanity. You have to understand that they are also human. They are working today because they have compulsion. They are having some problems. But you have no one has given right to you to do like this. My
Yes.
point is, if such
Hmm.
type of upbringing would have been to everyone, why
Hmm.
not?
Hmm.
And that is what's required. But thank you very much. You have made a very clear point that upbringing is also one of the reason, so that this type of inhuman act, whosoever has done, whether those who are sitting in the car or those who has instructed them or those who have lynched after that, that is also inhuman, because we are not supposed to take the law in our hand. How much angry we became. But
Yes.
anyway,
Now,
so
here, let me add one point,
yeah,
which complements yours. When I was, about 10 years, 11 years old, a similar thing happened to my life. My elder brother had come on holiday from, his college, and I was there. Around 11 o'clock in the daytime, my mother said, call the peon. His name was Jadunath. We used to call him Jaddu. So I went to the veranda of the bungalow. Father was a doctor, so doctor's bungalow. I went to the front and shouted, Jaddu. No response. So I said, Jaddu. Again, no response. So I said, Are suar, mar gaila ka? Are you dead? My brother heard it. Immediately he caught me and brought me and asked my mother to give him a sari. And he tied my hands with we had a surgical table in the veranda, house veranda. He tied me with one of the things and told my mother, no food for him till night. Now I know I will not abuse any person, much less,
yes,
slap.
correct, correct. Thank you very much for sharing. Now my question goes to Mr. Rohan. Mr. Rohan, although you belongs to a new generation, quite young to all of us, but my question is different. Supreme Court, because you are an IAS aspirant and you have to understand all these things. The Supreme Court mentioned very clearly that we are not going to transfer this case to CBI. And the reason they say, because you know that the powerful person, and they were replying to the advocate Mr. Harish Salve, which our UP government has engaged, who is sitting in London, who charge hefty amount of money. And what he said, the judge, Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court judge said, we are not transferring this case to CBI because persons involved are very high and mighty. What it means? It means that CBI is not an autonomous agency, as we believe, or the CBI works under the Ministry of, that is fine, it works under the Ministry of Home Affairs. But a state home minister or even a home minister or anyone can become more powerful than the law, because CBI is representing the law of the land. CBI has nothing to do with a person or B person. So do you agree what the Honorable Supreme Court judge has mentioned? Or if you agree, do you think the CBI should become an autonomous agency, complete autonomous agency, like we have Election Commission or Supreme Court, not as what we have? What you say about this?
So if the case has if the case transferred to CBI or not, it hardly matters, because the state police also is in hands of the same government is in state and the center. It hardly matters who the case has been transferred to. So even if it is transferred to the CBI, we know it CBI is not an individual body. It's full control. Its outcome has been, it's already been decided. The political party will not take any defamation with a minister, a member of parliament, that too in home affairs, taking such blow through investigation. That would hardly occur. And making a body independent, I hardly believe any body is independent. Like even election commission, that you see that the new election commissioner of India was chosen from UP cadre, taking in account that UP elections are coming, UP elections are approaching. So even if CBI is independent, it hardly matters that a body is independent or not. It will always remain under the central government or the jurisdiction. The back talks, like who becomes the chief, the back talks, already deals have been made that no decision against or for like this matter, like this and like
Okay,
this. So,
okay, Mr. Rohan, you have made one very important observation. According to you, the election commission is not independent, although it is you what you have mentioned is, I will not say 100% correct, but yes, there is no fire without, there is no smoke without fire, what you have said. But even if we take like this, then the how we cannot mention about the courts, because today even the courts judges, which even sometimes Supreme Court is recommending, the central government is putting veto power on that.
yes.
It clearly shows that even the courts are not independent. Thank you very much, Mr. Ranjindal. It shows, viewers, it shows that how knowledge and how updated our young generation is. Those who are, they are knowing about all these things, what is happening. But unfortunately, we all are helpless because we are governed by the laws, and the law says the Supreme Court is supreme, Election Commission is autonomous body, CBI is autonomous body. Although Supreme Court has mentioned that is a parrot, although it was told when the UPA was in the power. Now, whether it is a parrot or it is a crow, we don't know. Now, my question goes to Professor Sudhir Saran. Professor Saran, I read a report in which they mentioned that this ramming of a vehicle is a terrorist attack. And they have given a list. I have not read the list because it's a long list for last 20 years or so. They have given all details of how many people died, what type of vehicle they have rammed. And you might be knowing that it is happening. And in London, it is very common. Even USA now, it is very common that they ram the vehicle. Or USA, they use the guns because the guns are available. But in other countries, in Europe, generally, they are using the vehicle. Don't you think this type of act in India, although I will not term it as a new, but it is now for the first time we have seen in India now, is going to be, this act should be termed as a terrorist act, and the culprits, whosoever, should be booked under the stringent law of Anti-Terrorist Act, while the same act which were applied to those students who spoke against the CAA, but here only the 302 section was applied, not that stringent act where there is no bail provision, which we have seen even in Kashmir. They have applied to all the political leaders, and afterwards, and they were termed as a terrorist, and afterwards they were invited to our honorable Prime Minister's house for a tea party. They become pure. They were not become, their terrorist thing has been washed away by which soap we don't know. But here, which this act is a terrorist act, which is defined in that under the terrorism thing all over the world. Why the police, UP police, failed to invoke those sections under the terrorist act as far as those who has rammed the car in the crowd? What you say about this, Professor Saran?
Let us first go to the theory, Mr. Lal. And theory says that if a man has abused the rules of law, then he will be held accountable. Now, as per your statement, the statutes are clear. Now, when the police is doing the investigation, when it finds the evidences, it will impose that one. As far as an individual and a civilian, you and I am discussing, then I will ask you to remember that there is only one good philosophy through the history of mankind. And that was given by Aristotle. Many times I've invoked his name. He says that there is no contradiction between facts and the laws. Mark my words, there's no contradiction. What he says is either this is a terrorist act or it is not a terrorist act. It cannot be anything in between. So according to Aristotle, and whether it is CBI or local police or you as a businessman, I as a business professor, If we have to determine whether it is terrorist act or not, then we will go to the second part, second lesson taught by Aristotle, the four causes theory. It is unfortunate that we are not only failing to teach ethics to our children over the generations, we are also failing to teach Aristotle's ideas. Okay? And therefore, if you apply his four causes theories, to this situation, prima facie, whatever we have seen, it is one of the most violent things, and terrorist acts are the most violent category. There is nothing more violent than that. So that way it establishes there. But then, as Rohan said, we have not only defaulted in election commission as institution, CBI as institution, and this one, even our voting, the franchise, the farmers who have died, they also defaulted in not being objective when they have to vote somebody to power. If you are talking reform, reform begins from the ground level. Seldom it begins from the elite level. So what we are talking here is very serious thing, blot on humanity, because every human being, according to me, has contributed to what it is today. And reform, if it has to happen, then we have to have the wisdom, we have to have the courage to remember this prayer which I have brought before you once before. Today I'll repeat it. The humanity is saved if every human being remembers and understands and behaves as per this prayer. This prayer is called serenity prayer. The serenity prayer goes, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I hope your direction was that we must not live with it, condone these things, be silent. We must think. After all, it is there. And you know what? When somebody goes to an extreme, Newton comes into play. He has said, for every action, there will be equal and opposite reaction. And you know, Jessica Lal case was there. Who knew that that fellow will face justice? Who knows we will face justice once in a while? Who knows in Lakhimpur Kheri case, there'll be justice or otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Saran. Now my question goes to Mr. Rohan. Mr. Rohan, we have seen in past those who instigate, those who create hatred as per the law are booked always. Why this incident happened, if we will analyze that thing, this incident happened because of a statement, unfortunate statement of 25th September given by the Minister of State of Home, Mr. Mishra. And that statement was a threatening directly, which I read also, some part of it, which I quoted it, that whatsoever he has mentioned, it was not from my mouth. Don't you think the statement when it was given, at that time only if the UP police or the central government have taken some congruence and taking a stand at that time and taking some action, this massacre would have not taken place. Forget about the farmers. They are poor. They have nobody bothers for them. But at least those 4 BJP workers who died, at least they would have saved. Then my question to you is, why not the action was taken on 25th of September when these statements were made? And I have seen the clipping, people were clapping at that time. Instead of clapping, why they have not asked the district authorities have not taken action against the minister, or they are all afraid to take action? What you say about this, Mr. Rohan?
Making controversial statements in a public conference is nothing new for political parties. There have been many statements like calling Nathuram Godse uh, a fellow, what do they call it, a fellow Deshbhakt. They call it Natharam Godse Deshbhakt. So incidents like these are very common. These go checked only when there has been an outrage. Since there was no outrage regarding the statement initially, it was not checked. It was not booked under any other statement. The police, it's the responsibility of the police to check the statements, but you see that the power tussle between the power equation, like Mr. Sudhishwaran mentioned, that the power equation comes into play, and the equation and the statement was not checked. If it had been checked earlier, this incident would not have occurred. I also believe the incident was not related to the statement, because if the minister was connected, even if making the statement like a week earlier to the incident, and if he had purposely planned this incident, he would not use his son's car. I think it was done by his son, like in the heat of the moment or something like that. I believe that to be
Okay,
true.
okay, Mr. Rohan, you have made a point. Although the son, whether son is doing or not doing,
Or
after
the
all,
person driving the vehicle, yes.
okay.
Let's say
Now
that.
my question goes to Mr. Sudhir Saran. Mr. Sudhir Saran, do you think the UP police failed to take action? If instead of this minister, if it had been someone from the other community, would have spoken like what we have seen in JNU case, when they were speaking, the students were speaking against the CAA, and they were arrested, put in behind the jail under the stringent law of MOCA or whatsoever, the terrorist act, with this thing that they have been creating the hatred, try to create the difference between the communities, etc. And it was against the wage of war country, sedition cases also. When such type of statement came from a minister, how mighty he might be, why the police has not taken action, or they are totally gutless? What you say about this, Mr. Sudhir Saran?
The facts are there, they speak louder. They don't need my mouth to be articulated. People in the heart of hearts know that mighty have a different standard of law and enforcement, and the less mighty, the weak, have a different standard. This is what is happening not only in our country, in one state, in one district. It has today become a universal disease that there are two standards of enforcing rules of the land. UP police is very much a victim as well as a victimizer in this equation. They don't treat everybody as objectively, and the justices also don't do their part, because law is supposed to be blind. They are not supposed to see whether a rich man is seeking justice or a poor man is seeking justice, whether mighty is seeking the justice or the powerless is seeking justice. UP police is not living up to the, as Supreme Court says, honor of the uniform they put on. I think, of course, time is less, we cannot attribute causes. What I'll say is, if this is the situation to the UP police, somebody has to do the soul searching within the services and outside the services. Rohan is the budding administrative officer. He also must do what they can do, because you see, if you want to destroy a society, you don't have to bring an enemy from outside. You don't have to bring a terrorist from outside. You just corrupt the law enforcement people who start administering law by two standards, and you will achieve your objective. So as a professor, I'm really worried that these kind of things are happening, and we are not thinking of taking the right roads to correct them. After all, when total lawlessness happens, anarchy happens, then civil war happens. And in civil war, nobody is winner, whether powerful or powerless. In civil war, nobody is the winner. The humanity is the loser. So it will be, one of the lessons we'll be able to teach with Lakhimpur Kheri case to the administration and other participants. This is what my view is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Saran. Now, Mr. Rohan Jindal, people say, why the blot on humanity? It is happening. What is the wrong thing? A car accident, truck accident, it happens every day. Why you are saying this is a blot on humanity? My question to you is, Do you think that today's topic is appropriate or it's wrong? It is not correct. It's not. This accident is an accident or a murder, but it's not a blot on humanity. What do you say about this, Mr. Ranjinder?
So, like I said earlier, the blot on humanity is not just the murder part, like the accident or the murder part. The blot on humanity is how the incident was handled afterwards, like how the media tried to cover up, how the justice system how the justice system failed to arrest the accused and further the investigation impartially, how the political parties tried to make further their own gains through the family of the disease. This is the part that highlights how humanity has how people have how we as a civilization have failed, and how we have shrink to our personal gain, how everyone is thinking about their personal gains only, even when such a very dire incident, such a very serious incident has taken place. This is the part that has highlighted the
Okay.
blot
Okay.
on humanity.
Thank you very much. Now, my last question goes to Professor Sudhir Saran, the same, whether this is a blot to humanity or not. If not, then why we are discussing this? Let it go. But if it is a blot onto humanity, why the civil society is not coming up and raising the issue forcibly, vocally, and why they are silent? Professor Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. I know the answer of your question, so I'll be very brief.
No,
Yes.
you take time, right? You have 2 minutes to give answer.
Okay. Okay. So it definitely is a blot on humanity, because one yardstick is there were more than 8 people there who were actors in that incident. 4 people died in one action, then in retaliation, 4 more people lost their life. The journalist lost life because he was recording the incidents. So it definitely is a blot on humanity, because there are other human beings and they are not lifting a finger to change the situation for justice. When justice is given a short change, then that is a clear standard by which you say the humanity has been tarnished. For example, if somebody is robbing my home and the home people are shouting daku, 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 and the village people are worried about their own life, their own property, their own safety, and turn a deaf eye, don't do anything to this, then such a thing is called, it is blot on humanity. The whole country is condemning this one, but beyond condemning, I don't think we are moving towards the right direction. The right direction is a philosophy called objectivism by an author called Ayn Rand, which got very established. And today in 21st century, we don't have the excuse what people in the 19th century has the excuse. We don't know. Intellectuals had not given us the blueprint. Ayn Rand has given the complete solution in her books, in her writings, in her lectures. So today, my answer is this. It is a bigger blot in 21st century, in 2021, than it would be before 1905, when Ayn Rand was born, and before 1942, when she wrote her major books. And before 1962, also we had excuse when she started lecturing on social issues. So I think we have the body of knowledge. Mankind is ignoring it, and therefore you are very right. Such defaults make it a blot on humanity. Topic is very valid, very timely. I hope we will heed it. I hope everybody who's listening will heed it. I hope everybody carries your message, my message, to the society, so that such blots are not happening as frequently, as intensely, and
Okay.
if possible, are eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Saran. So, viewers, we have seen today the incident which has happened at Lakhimpur Kheri is not a simple murder. It was not a simple car accident, but it is something which is a blot on humanity. And this is not acceptable, at least a civil society in our Indian democracy. We are very sensible, we are very sensitive, and we hope that we will remain like this, but we must raise the voice. If such types of things are happening, we should not keep mum, but let's have faith, keep faith on the law agencies. Let's see that law enforcing agencies take correct decisions without any pressure from any mighty person, and the judiciary will play their role as they are playing in such a way that the justice will not only be delivered, but it should be seen. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Manladu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well. It was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And in our endeavor to bring to you every day new topic, tomorrow is a very important day. Tomorrow the world is celebrating International Day of Girl Child. So our topic tomorrow is girl child, boon or bane. And there are many prominent speakers, panelists will be participating in that. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. for the topic girl child, boon or bane. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Thank you very much, Mr. Rohan Jindal, for giving very, very positive views about what has happened there. And I'm sure that today's our viewers are quite enlightened that this is not a tutu meme platform. We are giving the facts and we are giving you food of a thought. You decide what is right, what is wrong. Thank you very much. Thank you all the viewers.